Some good news. What about some really, really good news? Because so often news is depressing and it's bad and it's awful. Now, Sunderland holds a very, very special place in Brexiteers' hearts. I remember going back to the late 1990s, the big national debate, and it always was that if Britain doesn't join the euro, Nissan will close down in Sunderland. If we dare to vote for Brexit, there's no question Nissan will leave Sunderland. If it's a no-deal Brexit, no question, Nissan will leave Sunderland. And despite this narrative that's gone on for a couple of decades, that night in 2016, when the returning officer stood up and gave the Remain vote at 58,000 for Sunderland, the Leave vote at 83,000 for Sunderland, it was a moment when suddenly we thought, gosh, we might just be able to do this. And the people of Sunderland have been rewarded. The naysayers, the Remainers, the Remoaners, I'm afraid, have got it wrong once again, because this week, a massive £1 billion sterling deal for Nissan to build a new mega factory in the northeast of England. And I would guess, as a northeast MP, this has got to be up to 6,000 jobs at Sunderland and downstream from that. It's got to be a big moment, hasn't it?
An absolutely huge moment, and I was, delighted to actually join the Prime Minister and the Business Secretary in Sunderland at the Nissan site and in the Envision site, who are going to be building these amazing batteries, to see what's going on there, but really to celebrate this news, because, as you say, there were so many naysayers who said that Nissan would be disappearing from the UK, disappearing from Sunderland, all those jobs would be lost, and instead we're seeing more investment. £1 billion of investment. I mean, this is astonishing.
And the chief executive actually saying this is one of the benefits of Brexit. Nissan talking about the benefits of Brexit. Fantastic news.
Absolutely.
And I guess, I'm going to say this, for the government's levelling up agenda, this must make you feel quite comfortable being a North East MP.
Well, completely. I've had some odd criticism this week that I'm celebrating it even though it's not in my constituency. As though people don't travel across a border to go to work. There are an awful lot of people living in my constituency, in North West Durham, in Sedgefield, and the other seats that we won in County Durham, who do travel to Sunderland to work at Nissan and in the Nissan supply chain. And this is only going to aid that, and I'm incredibly excited. And one of the things that I spoke to Envision about was about their skills agenda, about apprenticeships and working with local colleges. They've committed to do that. They're going to be working with the local councils, making sure that we end up with a really well-trained workforce right here in the North East, and I couldn't be more excited. No,
look, it is terrific news. And some other news that is very significant. The financial services industry. Now, I know as soon as people hear that phrase, they think, it's Canary Wharf, it's the City of London, it's city slickers, it's people earning vast amounts of money. What everyone forgets about financial services is that it is Britain's biggest industry by far, and that 2/3 of people who work in financial services, they work in Glasgow, they work in Bristol, they work in Cardiff. It's insurance, it's pension management, it's all of those things. And it is really, really important. And one of the difficulties with all the Brexit negotiations since 2016 is the European Union's pretty much absolute refusal to recognise as an equal the British financial services industry. And that's led us into some sort of impasse where are we just going to go on mirroring all the rules of the European Union to please them? Well, I'm really pleased to say that Rishi Sunak this week gave the annual Mansion House speech. And these were the words that he spoke, having talked about the difficulties of getting the European Union to play fairly with us. He said, now we are moving forward, continuing to cooperate on questions of global finance, but each as a sovereign jurisdiction with their own priorities. We now have the freedom to do things differently and better. We intend to use it fully. Dehenna, I've personally, for 30 years, not wanted Britain's biggest industry and the one in which we're a global leader. For 30 years, I wanted us to disengage with the European rulebook. And I have to say, politicians stand up and make statements very often, and I think, well, that will happen, that won't happen. But I have to say, I actually believe that Rishi Sunak means this, and I think this is very, very good news for the UK.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, we know that Rishi believes in free trade. He believes in global trade.
Yeah.
So hearing this speech is a kind of real pivotal moment, I suppose, to show that this is going to be the track that we're going to be treading. I think it's really exciting. And Paul, what's your stance? I mean, did you catch the speech and what did you make of it?
I read about it, and I think absolutely it's right that we try and get the best possible landscape for financial services. I think we need to push for that, of course. I have to say, unapologetically, I'm much more cheered by the Nissan news. You know, that's what I would call a huge benefit to the real economy, the productive part of the economy where goods are made and you know, wealth is also created. And for me, you know, I was that rare thing on the left these days, someone on the left who was a Brexiteer. And I remember having huge debates with people in the trade union movement at the time of the referendum. They were absolutely certain that Nissan were going to leave. And in fact, you know, people were saying we should cave into that pressure. Trade unionists who would never normally say we should cave into pressure from big business were suddenly saying that we should. So it's brilliant. You know, it's a huge expansion, 1,600 jobs immediately, I think. 4,500 jobs coming further down the supply chain. It's an example of where we can give state support. The government is giving state support. I think the details on that are a bit sketchy at the moment, but arguably we wouldn't have been able to do that type of thing within the EU. And this is, you know, this for me is why Brexit was important, being able to subsidise our industry, being able to give state aid to industry, being able to bring solid blue-collar jobs that are the lifeblood of communities like Sunderland, frankly, and, you know, focusing much more on our manufacturing sector, which Brexit gives us the opportunity to do. So I'm hugely cheered by that news, and I feel slightly vindicated as well.